Hello and welcome to a new episode of Cultural Magazine where we bring you the latest cultural events taking place around the nation. Let's go take a look at today's episode.
Under the auspices of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the 52nd session of the Cairo International Book Fair was recently inaugurated. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, accompanied by Dr. Ines Abdedaim, the Minister of Culture, and Dr. Haitham Al-Hag, President of the Egyptian General Book Organization, inaugurated the activities of the 52nd session of the Cairo International Book Fair. The book fair is held under the auspices of President Sisi under the slogan, "Life is in Reading," at the Exhibition and Convention Center. The opening was attended by Ambassador Nabila Makram, Minister of State for Immigration and Egyptians Abroad, Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, as well as a host of government ministers and foreign ambassadors, along with a large number of Egyptian officials, intellectuals, media professionals, writers, and journalists. The Prime Minister began his tour of the exhibition emphasizing that the Egyptian state during the era of President Sisi is witnessing an unprecedented cultural movement represented in the efforts made to enrich all aspects of cultural life. He asserted the state and the political leadership's belief in the important role played by culture, considering that it is one of the effective mechanisms in shaping awareness and confronting extremist ideas. The Premier and his companions toured the exhibition, during which he inspected a large part of the pavilion's halls, sections of the exhibition, and many publishing houses, including the Ministry of Defense and Military Production Pavilion, where he praised the exhibit. In this section, he recorded an electronic speech in which he expressed his happiness with the impressive organization of the pavilion. He said he was honored to visit the Ministry of Defense Pavilion at the 52nd Cairo International Book Fair, which reflects the interest of the armed forces with the participation of state agencies in all fields, and work to increase citizens' national awareness, spread culture, and introduce the history of the great Egyptian army. The Prime Minister also inspected the wing of the bodies affiliated with the Ministry of Culture, which included the General Authority for Cultural Palaces, the Supreme Council for Culture, as well as the National Library and Documentation House. The 22nd Ismailia International Festival for Documentary and Short Films, headed by film critic Aissam Zakaria, honors the great film critic Kamel Ramzi, dubbed the Sheikh of Egyptian and Arab film critics, in this year's session 2021 in the Ismailia Governorate. Critic Kamel Ramzi deserves a respectable tribute, as he is one of the well-known cinema critics and he did not receive the honor he deserves. Ramzi is a great name that Egyptian and Arab cinema are proud of, and he possesses a cinematic history that extends for thousands of articles he wrote in the love of cinema and dozens of books which became a reference for all students of the seventh art. Ramzi advocated his life for cinema of the Arab world, Egyptian and international festivals that he witnessed and co-founded as he was attached to the silver screen very early on. Critic Kamal Ramzi has well deserved the title the Sheikh of film critics. He has his own critical style and perspective of bringing out the positive aspects of any work without showing the negatives or attacking artists. It is noteworthy that the Ismailia International Festival for Documentary and Short Films is held annually by the National Center for Cinema, headed by scriptwriter Mohammed Al-Basousi in Ismailia Governorate. The Ismailia International Festival of Documentary and Short Films is one of the oldest festivals in the Arab world and the first Arab festival to specialize in documentaries and short films, as its first session began in 1991. The Egyptian Museum in Tahrir displays 22 artifacts that express the importance of music in ancient Egypt, including a wooden model depicting a band during a musical performance from the Middle Kingdom era in the Saqqara archaeological area and a small funerary stela centered on it. A view of a harp player called Harsawa playing in front of the deity, the branch of Hur Akhti from the era of the 25th dynasty, discovered in the Sheikh Abul Qurna area in Luxor, in addition to a group of single and double flutes made of reeds and two pieces of colored leather, which used two covers for a drum discovered in Akhmim dating back to the late era. The ancient Egyptians were interested in music, and it had a great importance in civil and religious life, in feasts and celebrations, and even in the courtyards of temples and offerings. Music was an art with its origins, rules, and supervisors. According to the general manager of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir, Sabah Abdelrazik, the goddess Hathor was closely associated with music, and she was called the master of music in ancient Egypt. The inscriptions in the archaeological temple of Dendera show the goddess Hathor carrying a tambourine and playing on it, as well as other inscriptions showing Hathor carrying a sistrum and a tambourine in these scenes. Egyptian museums include a group of musical instruments and ancient inscriptions, which archaeologists confirm that they indicate the Egyptians' fondness and interest in music since the early dynasty era. Among the instruments displayed in the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir are drums and tambourines and a set of clappers, tinsels, and bells made of bronze, wood, ivory, and gilded wood dating back to the New Kingdom and the late period. These instruments and inscriptions were discovered in several regions such as Saqqara, Abydos, Luxor, and San el-Hagar. And the interest of the ancient Egyptian was not limited to the instruments and musicians, but singers also possessed a prestigious status, as archaeologist Bassem al-Shamma explains that the priestly pyramid in ancient Egypt had a very important function, the job of the god's chanter, which was honored to the extent that it was degraded at the death by royal embalming. The archaeologist emphasizes that singing and chanting were one of the rituals of the pharaonic temples. The exhibition of ancient music in the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir includes a group of small statues of men and women musicians playing the harp and a statue of a man playing the flute.
You're still watching Cultural Magazine. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. And stay tuned for more amazing things coming your way on this episode.
Today we are gathered to celebrate the 7th International Day of Yoga.
نحن نعمل على نشر ثقافة تلك الرياضة العظيمة بين جموع الشعب المصري لممارستها والاستفادة من أثرها الإيجابي.
In celebration of the 7th International Day of Yoga, the Maulana Azad Center for Indian Culture, affiliated with the Indian Embassy in Cairo, organized a special event at the Child Center for Civilization and Creativity, or the Child Museum in Heliopolis. The event is organized in cooperation with the Egyptian General Sports Federation and the Egyptian Kabaddi Federation.
Well, yoga originated in India. It was written about in our ancient scriptures, which were written thousands of years ago, 3,500, 4,000 years ago. And many people used to practice yoga. But I must say that it's only after Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been elected, that he has really worked very hard to popularize yoga among Indians. And I think yoga was not so widely known. It was known, but it wasn't being done in such large numbers. For instance, I myself learnt yoga in my 30s, and I learnt it in Bangladesh. So I think he has done a lot, our Prime Minister, to really encourage millions and millions of people to take up yoga, and it has now become extremely popular. Yoga is one of the very few ways in which you can combine physical fitness with maintaining mental strength, improving one's concentration, and also being positive. So regular practice of yoga is a kind of preventive health care. They say that if you do yoga regularly, you can prevent diseases like diabetes, hypertension, or even you can manage them to some extent. It also helps in developing one's concentration, and some people say even in remaining young, you look younger. And the best thing is that you do not require any equipment. If you are, say, a swimmer, you have to go to the swimming pool. Now the swimming pools are closed because of the pandemic, but yoga only requires a mat, and you can do it at home at any time. Well, you see, as a diplomat, I have been a diplomat now for almost 3 decades, almost 30 years, because I joined in 1991. And I must say that in the 1990s, for instance, yoga was mainly popular in Europe and in the US and Canada. It was not really so well known in other parts of the world. And I myself remember that when I was in China in 2001, very few Chinese did it. But now maybe hundreds of millions are doing it. Even in Bangladesh, where I was there from 2004 to 2008, very few Bangladeshis were doing it, but then it started becoming more and more popular. So because of, I think the active efforts made, yoga is now being done by people all over the world, including Egypt. Well, I came here on 10th of March, and I must say that even though the pandemic is going on, that I have been overwhelmed by the warmth and generosity which has been shown to me and my family. And I can sense that the Egyptian people like India a lot. They have a lot of regard for India. And there is a lot of similarity between our cultures and both our countries, as we are both developing countries.
The International Yoga Day is a global event that UNESCO has certified since 1914, in which 177 countries have approved, including Egypt. Yoga is a beautiful sport that allows for inner and outer self peace. We try to spread it in all directions, not only on Yoga Day, but also on the International Peace Day. We urge all children and youth to practice yoga. We have been invited to this event by the Indian Embassy, and children and youth take part in this event, especially through the Youth and Sports Ministry.
I was surprised actually, because I found that there was a lot of people coming for the yoga. I didn't expect that they would come for the yoga, or they don't know it. But really, Egyptians, the real Egyptian, they are looking for something good, and they don't talk about it. That's what we see here about that. And as you know, that it is Indian origin, but also we are going on and on for the sport, for also yoga. And yoga is working for the mind and also for the spirit. It is not active just to act or active body, but also, which is very important, to deal with the mind and to deal with the spirit, especially for the youth and especially for the children also. If they know it from now, I think they will follow about that, and it is very important everywhere in the world.
The Indian Embassy in Cairo celebrates the International Yoga Day in a festive mood at the Child Museum in Cairo. This is Abida Gindi for the Cultural Magazine at the Yoga celebration.
Egypt has a long and vast history with deep heritage involved in it throughout the years and centuries that have taken place in history with Egyptian culture. Let's go find out more about this heritage in Egypt.
In Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi Citadel and under the slogan Drums Dialogue for Peace, Dr. Ines Abdidaim, Minister of Culture, inaugurated the 8th International Festival of Drums and Traditional Arts, headed by the great artist and founder of the festival, Dr. Intisar Abdel Fattah.
Very much impressive. I just found that the music is the international common language to share our minds and hearts together. And I was so happy and I was so excited to be a part of this wonderful process. Thank you, and I love Masri, I love Egypt. We do have a wonderful people-to-people exchanges, including cultural cooperation. We do have a separate Korean Cultural Center. They are now overcoming the pandemic, so we begin to offer some chances for Egyptian people to come in to see the Korean movies and taste varieties of the Korean culture. So welcome to the Korean Cultural Center and Korean Embassy. And we do have a series of annual exchange program between our cultural people. So right after the pandemic is over, you will be able to see a lot more exciting and interesting programs for us. Actually decided to dispatch one very high quality Korean drumming team. We do have a Korean traditional drumming, especially drumming band. So you will like it very much, and definitely in the 9th International Drum Festival, Egyptian people will be able to see Korean drumming team compete.
It's so interesting, so enthusiastic. I was so excited with like the other people. And the message it spread, it's world peace, which is very important now. So I wish to participate in a big way in future in the next program. It means that even though there is corona, there is some depression, people want enjoyment, they want to enjoy their life. So this is the symbol that how people can enjoy life even within this our problematic time. So life goes on and we need to celebrate the life, and this is the celebration of life. Cultural activities, my main plan is to bring one cultural team from Bangladesh. Because of corona I couldn't, but I want to show our people how do they enjoy life culturally. So to our brothers and sisters in Egypt, I want to bring a dance, especially dance team from Bangladesh, and also with traditional drums and traditional musical instruments. Those many people here doesn't know that we are also very rich culturally, especially in dance and other performances. So I want to bring one cultural team to show our brothers and sisters in Egypt.
I feel the drum beat with my heartbeat. I enjoy it. It's a very wonderful time. I spent this last 2 hours. It's very wonderful. I enjoy all the performance. They did very well.
first and foremost, I'm so happy because I don't know what to say. So I'll tell you your name. My name Amin. So I'm Christopher Bion. I'm from South Sudan. And the rest, I don't know from where to start and what to say because if I talk now, I will talk a lot and I'll say too much things. So let me just keep quiet here. Oh, it was a great feeling. You know, it was something very amazing. As for me as an individual, you know, it was my first time to perform in Egypt. It was my first time to perform in a crown like this. So I was so happy and it was a great feeling and I was feeling what I was doing.
With the Egyptian heritage and traditional arts, the journey of dialogue across time, space, civilization and cultures took off with the uniqueness of the Egyptian art, which became vivid upon meeting with other different cultures. Shuruq Bikir, Culture Magazine.
This brings us to the end of this episode of Cultural Magazine. Hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for more on Nile TV.